Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you all are ready for Game 3. I'm not feeling super confident. Of course, we're going to get into that conversation as we look ahead to tonight's game. But D-Mac, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rachel. I'm very optimistic. I'm excited about tonight. Okay. I pre-show, I'm having all these negative nabobs of negativity killing me. Come on now.
To be fair, I'm feeling a little negative, a little insight into my personal life. I went hiking yesterday and I sprained my ankle. So I have a giant wrap around my ankle currently at the moment, less than ideal. I cannot walk, waiting on getting crutches delivered to my house so I can move around. So I'm happy that the games are in Miami tonight and not at Ball Arena, because it would be a whole other show trying to vlog and do crutches down at Ball Arena. But I'm feeling a little concerned about...
All right, wait, time out. Let's back up here.
Okay.
How did you hurt your ankle again? Where were you? What were you doing?
I was just hiking up in Evergreen, Colorado, just hanging out. My boyfriend was mountain biking. I was hiking with the dog. I had the dog around my waist. And then we were going down like the fake stairs, essentially, where it's just like tree branches, but they're stairs. And she went down faster than I did. My ankle just rolled, and now it's the size of a softball. So happy Wednesday, everyone.
All right. So are you a klutz or does nature suck?
Nature sucks. This is my first time I've ever done this. So Take that as you will.
I'm glad you're okay. How'd you get back to the car?
Adrenaline just kept me going. I walked all the way back to the car. And we even stopped too, because I was like, oh, we'll just stop. And there was some deer hanging out in the meadow, and we were just watching the deer waiting. So
do we get to see your ankle here, Rachel? Do we get to see what the deal is? Or
I would typically show it to you, but people in my DMs ask me for feet pictures, so I'm not going to give those away for free. You know what I mean?
God.
We can't do that.
I am so sorry. That was Rachel. I am so sorry. That was not my intention.
Also, just to clarify, I do not send anybody pictures of my feet, but we're just saying we can't give that away for free to any coffee break listeners,
My face when we enter a territory I didn't think we'd be in. So, okay, good. How about those nuggets? Let's get back to them nuggets.
Make sure you have your popcorn, Rachel. I promise I've already got the bag, because, yes, we have to get ready for tonight's game. Michael Malone pretty much goes on to say he's not apologizing for throwing the Nuggets under the bus. And honestly, D-Mac, I don't think he should have to. He said it was honesty, and that's all it is. Fine. If you think that's how your players are going to get fired up, which clearly it worked, and he comes on to say, I would never say anything to the media that I wouldn't say to my guys in the locker room first. I respect that, and it's clearly worked because they've gotten this far. Now, while I agree with everything that was said there, I still don't feel great about the confidence level of this group. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts?
It's all fine if it works. Michael Porter.
That is the most loaded back-ended thing to be like, oh, well, if it works, then everything's great.
Well, it's kind of, we're in kind of our uncharted territory. We know that approach from Malone and his team has worked in the regular season. Yep. That is true. We do know yesterday, Michael Porter Jr. basically said, hey, it's not the right time to get all in your feelings, put on your big boy pants. We've got to, figure this out. So, Michael Porter Jr. didn't seem to be negatively impacted by it, at least for the things that he said. So, and then they had dinner at Jeff Green's house and you bond a little bit. I think getting on the road is good for them. But, we'll see. That's the great thing about these games eventually when they happen. Is this guy right or that guy right? Are you better than this team or not better than that team? Listen, Rachel, when the Suns won 2 games in a row in Phoenix, a lot of us were having doubts about the Nuggets and pumping up the Suns. And then the Nuggets came back with 2 of their best games of the year.
Mm-hmm. Here's where I actually feel like it differs from the Heat and the Suns series. We were expecting a lot of that out of the Suns, and I feel like we were all able to be like, okay, here's what went wrong. Here's kind of the main issues. with this Heat team, despite them being smaller, I know Kevin Love will probably be back in the lineup, despite them not having Tyler Hero and having Jimmy Butler out there, who's actually played really pretty decently, actually, if you look at his stats. I know his numbers haven't been too crazy, but defensively, he's played a pretty good game. I feel like the question is with the Heat of like, they're just so gritty that they're able to find wins. And it's not just, oh, we can pinpoint it right here. And that's how you can figure it out if you're a Nuggets fan. I felt like we could do that with the Suns, and with the Heat, I feel like I can't directly be like, oh, this is exactly what went wrong. And a lot of it does fall back on the Nuggets because defensively they did play a good game. They weren't having shooting, but it's just, there's something about the grittiness of the Miami Heat that I'm like, they could probably pull out another one. And that scares me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anything can happen, and you got to give respect to your opponents. When the Avalanche got into the Stanley Cup final against the Lightning, it's like, whoa, there is a degree of competition here that we haven't seen before. True. And so I think that's what we're seeing with the Heat. It's a different team, similar, excuse me, to the Nuggets. They can win in a variety of ways. It's not just one thing. Jimmy Butler, while being a great scorer, is also a great distributor of the ball, too. And he, like Jokic, definitely has a pass-first sort of mentality. But they have off games too, Rachel. They do, and they have. And they had one of their hottest shooting nights of the entire year a couple nights ago in Game 2. Okay? And they won by 3. All right? You know, all you need to do is even when the Heat are playing their best, they were still down by 8 to start the fourth quarter, and they only won by 3 points, okay? And that's them playing their best. That's getting 4 of 10 from Max Strus. That's getting contributions, 10 straight points from Duncan Robinson. That's Jimmy Butler over 20 points. That's Bam Adebayo playing well. I mean, that's everybody playing well. And so, okay, and you won by 3. So despite playing as good as you possibly could, which they did, they really did barely win. So I guess the question is, does that continue? Or do the Nuggets play better? Because we have not seen the A game for the Nuggets. The A game for the Nuggets happened in the second half against the Lakers, Game 4. It happened in Games 5 and 6 against the Suns. It happened in Game 1 against the Timberwolves. These are all examples of the Nuggets A game. We haven't seen it yet, and it's the NBA Finals, Game 3. So the question is, Rachel, do you think we'll see their A game? Period.
I hope so, because I hope a fire was just absolutely lit and they're going to go out there and explode and make all my worries go away. And we're going to see a huge, first half. But the other problem is, and we talked about this yesterday, is how good of a fourth quarter team the Heat is. And the Nuggets don't do particularly well in the fourth quarter. So despite how big the lead could possibly be, the fourth quarter is still going to worry me regardless.
Rachel, do you think the Heat are going to win tonight?
I have a really my head is telling me, no, the Nuggets are going to bounce back. That's what's going to happen. But my heart and my gut is telling me that the Heat are going to win. And so I'm fighting this battle with them. So I'll give you my answer at the end of the show. Maybe you can convince me otherwise.
Well, I mean, okay.
You're not at all, but you seem very confident. So you're not at all worried about it.
Listen. My confidence, I do think the Nuggets will win, but I think it'll be close. Okay. I think it'll be basically a 5-point game that might stretch to 8, something like that.
Okay. The line is 2.5 Nuggets.
Yeah. I mean, look how much that has shrunk. And of course you lose a few points because you're on the road. Listen, I do think the Nuggets are going to win. So I guess I shouldn't say otherwise, because I do think they're going to win. But again, for the Nuggets to win, a few things have to happen. And it was interesting to hear Malone basically, I guess it doesn't matter in the NBA. We can tell you exactly what we're going to do. In the NHL, they allow you to watch every single practice. They don't really care. Yeah. So, we're so used to the paranoid vibe of football, right? That, a lot of this stuff is maybe a little bit surprising. But the Nuggets are going to play much differently in the fourth quarter. Much differently. And they're going to be much more aggressive. I think Jokic probably will start the fourth quarter. I don't think Malone's going to mess around with that. And I think they're going to just go into a very, very different mindset, especially at the beginning of the fourth quarter. I hope that translates to a win.
This is kind of a weird thought, but Was Michael Malone trying to teach his team a lesson? Because we hear Michael Malone talk about, how no lead is a safe lead in the NBA. And the fact that Jokic didn't, they were up by 8 going into the fourth. The fact that Jokic didn't start it after getting a decent break because of the TV timeout, I'm just kind of curious if maybe this was like, all right, I'm really going to rely on you guys. Like, I'm not going to save you here in this moment. Like, prove to me. And what's hard about that is when you look at the stat line too, is the starters weren't doing as well as the bench. So I kind of can see it from that argument essentially. But to not have your best player out there after he got 3-ish minutes because of that timeout is just surprising to me. And I know he put in serious work in the third quarter.
Yeah, here's what happens, I guess. When you lose, you dissect everything from a negative perspective, right?
Sure.
And when you win, all the moves that you did were the right thing to do. And I'll tell you this, Rachel, this is weird to have so much time to dissect one single basketball game. This is unusual.
Yeah.
Even in the playoffs, they play at least every other day. We should be, seriously, Rachel, we should be talking about what happened last night. And that 2-day break between game 1 and game 2, I don't know. Maybe you get 2 games when you go on the road. I guess. But it all feels weird. I think it's going to – the Nuggets now have had 2 NBA games under their belts after a long break, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They've bonded together. They've been excoriated by their coach. It's kind of all happened.
Yeah.
And Jokic was asked about it, about Malone's comments and how he felt. And he said, well, basically what we've been saying, we'll see. We'll see if it works.
Sure.
Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It has this season, like I've said again. We'll go from there. I'll throw this back at you. All right, I'll try to convince you. Let me break this down with you.
Okay.
Do you think the Heat, and I don't know all these answers, but do you think the Heat will play essentially the same, meaning going more or less one-on-one with Jokic and allowing him to score more or less at will?
I think they've figured out that no matter what, Jokic is going to be able to put basketballs in the basket, essentially. So stop everybody else around him. If you can limit Bruce Brown, who has had big games, if you can limit KCP, who's had big games, MPJ defensively has kind of been, game 2 was really bad. But if you can limit Jamal Murray, MPJ, Bruce Brown, KCP, Christian Brown's more there for defensively. Aaron Gordon, I feel like it's 50-50 with him. But if you can limit all of those guys and just allow Jokic to score, Jokic can't put up 100. So, yeah, I feel like that's kind of the key that yet no one else has been able to figure out but Miami.
All right. Do you think Jokic has at least 7 assists?
Yes.
I do too. And he had 4, so that's 4 points at least. Do you think Michael Porter Jr. will have at least 3 3-pointers?
That's tough because if he's in his head, they're screwed.
Well, what do you think?
3 3-pointers?
3 3-point, at least 3.
No, I'm going to say 2.
Wow. Okay. Do you think KCP will play better defensively?
Yes, I hope so.
And not make those undisciplined sort of mistakes, right? You can correct those. He's not going to be following guys from beyond the arc again, is he?
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay.
They're going to play a much cleaner. Okay, my question back to you is Christian Brown going to play?
I think he'll be in the rotation.
Okay.
And I think it'll be a first half sort of deal only, depending on how things go. I think he provided really good energy, and I think the Crayola Box crew was awesome in the first half. I think Christian Brown had some welcome to the NBA moments to start the fourth quarter, and you would hope he can learn from that and pick up on it and be better, but I don't know if he's going to have that opportunity. I think Malone is going to be more conservative and not take the chances. Malone mentioned, about him putting the right players on the court. And I think that's in reference to what he did in the fourth quarter.
Okay, going back to MPJ. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
May 22nd, so the last 3 games versus the Lakers. He was 3 from 10 from the arc.
Yeah.
Game 1, 2 from 11. And
Yeah.
June 4th, 1 from 6.
Yeah. So okay, is that who he is, or is he better than that?
I mean, that's looking like who he is.
No way. He's better than that. Come on. Have a little faith.
Okay, let's go back.
I'll tell you this, Rachel, I'll tell you this. If he's not better than that, the Nuggets got some uphill sledding to do. Okay? You know, if he's not better than that, if he's not going to break out of this little shooting slump, we got some issues. We do.
Yeah. I feel like we've talked more defensively about MPJ, though, than offensively. Do you agree?
I'm sorry, one more time?
We've talked more about his defensive game being really solid than his offensive game. Game 2 being the exception because he was just overall not great.
You know, I think MPJ is an underrated defender. You know, I think he's actually pretty good out there overall. He's done great. So you pointed out the 2 for 11, but I think he had 13 rebounds in that game too, something like that. And you know, it just, and he only played 20 something minutes in game 2, and he still had at least 6 rebounds. Okay, it's not incredible, but it's something. It's some sort of contribution. I think he's going to be better. I think he's going to be okay. But then again, listen, if he's not, Rachel, if he's not, then you got trouble. You got trouble in D-Town, no doubt about it.
Did the Nuggets, we're all expecting him to be this lights out shooter, but maybe his role has changed because they're going to give it to Jokic and Jamal, and maybe we just haven't really been paying attention that he is going to be a more of a defensive minded player. And maybe that's something that we just haven't paid enough attention to because it really seems like that's the emphasis for MPJ.
Yeah, but I think that's why they've got KCP and Aaron Gordon out there, frankly. Not that it's not great to get, offensive contributions from both of them. You certainly can. And then you bring Jeff Green on. And again, Jeff can hit a 3-pointer here and there, but Jeff's more or less out there to spell Jokic and give them some defensive help too. I think you're more or less covered in those sort of departments. And I think Michael Porter Jr. is an adequate defender. I think he's fine. He's 6'10", okay? I mean, size still matters, I think. I hope it does. And what the thing is, like what he said is like, well, if they put Gabe Vincent on me, who's 6'3", that's going to be easy to score. And he's right. I don't think that's bragging. I don't think that's being obnoxious. I think that's being a truth teller there. Mm-hmm. I hate to boil this all down to Michael Porter Jr. because we're ignoring, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. I mean, the two of them combined, that's where you get your production from. Let me throw one more at you. Do you think Jamal Murray gets 30 points tonight?
Ooh. 30, huh?
So his line would have to be something like
I'm going to say no, but I am going to say it's going to be
13 for 26 and maybe 3 3-pointers in that mix.
Ooh, Jamal has to have a big game, I think, for them to win, but I'm going somewhere in between like the 25 to 30 range. I don't think he'll have 30 plus.
I'll give you something that we should root for. And here's why I think the Heat more or less stick to what they're doing. We should root for Jamal Murray having more points than Nikola Jokic. Okay. Yes. And if we root for that, and I'm not talking about Jamal's got 18 and Jokic has 14. I'm talking like Jamal's got 32 and Jokic has 27. Something along those lines. And Jokic, okay, he's got to be up there with his assists. It's the best part of his game and what makes him the most dangerous guy in the NBA. Not his scoring. His scoring is great. We know he can go for 40 points basically any night he wants. The difference with Jokic is his ability to distribute the ball and get everybody else involved. Mm-hmm. That wasn't happening. That did not happen in game 2. It didn't. And
do you have to give credit to the Heat or do you have to not and give it to the Nuggets?
I give both. I give both. And like Michael Malone is like unveiling a lot of really important stats, but one of them was in the fourth quarter. First of all, defensively, they were terrible, right? They allowed the Heat to score on 69% shooting, 36 points, 30 plus points in back-to-back fourth quarters in games 1 and game 2. That's terrible. Mm-hmm. That's terrible. You can't do that. And what happens if you play better defense and they miss more shots, then you're on the break more. You're moving the ball down the court more. You're just a more aggressive offense start to finish. But when they're making buckets and you're allowing that to happen, it's like, okay, they make a bucket, you dribble the ball down the court slowly, and now we're in this half-court set. And the Nuggets in quarter 4 were taking way longer to get the ball off deep in the shot clock, to get worse shots off than in quarters 1 through 3. Way longer. So the Broncos, the Nuggets have to push, keep pushing, and dial it up more aggressively to start the fourth quarter. I think this game, Rachel, is more or less going to be determined based on the score going into the fourth quarter and how the Nuggets do in the first 2 minutes. If the Nuggets go in with the lead and in the first 2 minutes can maintain that lead or expand that lead, they're probably going to win, okay? But
what's a safe lead?
What's that?
What is a safe lead?
A safe lead? 30 points is a safe lead. I think 20 points is a safe lead going into the fourth quarter, Rach. Maybe 15, maybe, but that's like the bare minimum. Anything less than 15, that's 7 possessions theoretically, right? Or 4.5, depending on what's going on. If you get into that 5 possession sort of lead, 5 3-pointers, 8 possessions to take the lead with 2-point baskets, that's a lot. That's a lot to go, because generally in runs and streaks, it's usually like 3 buckets in a row, which is 2 missed buckets for you, 3 for them, and then it stops. In general, when you watch a lot of seesaw up and down games, a team goes out to like a 6-0 run. The next team scores 4. It kind of goes back and forth. So I think, listen, I'm not going to worry about anything if they've got a 15-plus lead going into the fourth quarter. If it's a 14-point lead, I'm going to be like, all right, let's go. And even if they had a 15-point lead, you've got to at least have a draw in the fourth quarter, Rach. It's got to be something like, you can lose the quarter, but you can lose it like 27-24, not 36-20, not something stupid like that.
Who has to have a bigger game between Jokic and Jimmy Butler for their team to win?
That's a good question. I guess Jokic. I mean, I guess Jokic, because I think Jimmy Butler's just a good, solid contributor for them. I don't think they sit around and wait for Jimmy Butler. And the ball doesn't always end up in Jimmy Butler's hands to start the offense. It doesn't. It goes in a wide variety of things.
Is that one of the flaws of the Nuggets, though? I feel like we're really diving deep into this. Is that it's great because you have the 2-time MVP. Should have been 3. That's a whole other discussion. But the entire game really seems to go around Jokic, where for the Heat, it doesn't all go around their one superstar.
No, it's great that it happens like that. I mean, you've got a point center, a point guard center. That is exactly who Magic Johnson was. So if you want to compare Jokic to Magic Johnson, that would be the right comparison. Incredible. I mean, there's all sorts of crazy things. If you want to compare Jokic to Wilt Chamberlain, there's triple doubles. If you want to compare him to Larry Bird, there's the outside shooting. I mean, it's bananas like how many different types of guys you could compare Jokic to, but nobody would ever say, hey, do you think Magic should handle the ball, taking it up the court? I mean, nobody would, even dream to think that. No. It's more than fine that the offense starts and initiates with Jokic, whether he's taking the ball up or he sets a high screen or, whatever he's doing. But it's every time he's on the floor in a half court set, the ball needs to
move for him.
Yeah. That's a no-brainer. There's nothing to think about there. What's crazy, everybody knows that's going to happen, and nobody can really stop it, which makes Jokic that, remarkable, which is why I did want Malone to call a timeout. I did want the ball in Jokic's hands and then let Jokic make the decision. I mean, I do hope Michael Malone is not – I support him making the decision at the moment. I'm fine with that. But I would hope he wouldn't be too stubborn to realize, okay, I gave that a shot. It could have worked, but the odds were low. maybe next time, if there is a next time, I'll go in a bit of a different direction. Don't be too stubborn, I hope.
My only thing is, do you really think that the play would have changed? The more and more I've thought about it, I don't think the play would have changed. I think Jamal, regardless, would have taken the final shot.
I think it leans in that direction, but at least, put the ball in Jokic's hands at some point, and it's pretty simple. It's like, you'd set some sort of screen, there'd be an out of bounds play. Jokic gets the ball in 3-point territory, and then you kind of go from there. And maybe it is just a handoff to Jamal, right? Maybe it is. But maybe they collapse on Jamal, and Jokic sees Michael Porter Jr. Looking like a search and rescue team looking for you on the trail and all by himself. And, he makes that decision. Or KCP. Or, I don't know, Aaron Gordon underneath the basket, and you get a quick bucket, and then you foul again. I don't know, Rach. But maybe it is, Jokic gets the ball. There's a screen. Murray comes off the screen. You hit Murray, and he goes like that. I don't know. But let Jokic have a chance to participate in the biggest moment of the game.
No, I agree.
And for Jamal, too, as much as I love Jamal, and I do, I mean, Jokic is the MVP, dude. Listen, you can fiddle and faddle around. You've seen Jokic hit those Sombor threes, what are crazy. I get it, man. You are a great player. But even in that situation, all Jamal had to do was pass it over to Jokic. He was standing behind the arc. He would have had plenty of time to try to get a shot off. And at least you would have moved the ball, a little bit. Yep. But I can't hate on the Jamal shot too much, because without Jamal making those shots, they wouldn't have even been in it. And he hit some crazy three-pointers. We were standing right there next to each other. Hey, they can't miss. Hey, they can't miss. It was like one bucket after another. They didn't miss. I don't know, man. We're getting all wound up.
And it was this close.
I know. It was that close. It was that close. Front rim. Hey, man, that ball could hit front rim, backboard, and dropped right in. It didn't. It's the way it goes. Another inch in the air. Another just little extra, something, and that ball's a swish. So, I don't know.
Some other news.
By the way, that happens. The game's tied, Rachel. It's not like they win. The game's tied, and I don't know what would have happened in overtime.
True. That's a great point, too. You got to give credit to the Heat because they don't seem to give up. Tyler Hero will not be playing for them in Game 3. There was question about if he was going to or not, but he's officially been ruled out. Does it matter for the Heat, though? They figured out one way to beat the Nuggets.
Yeah, I think it does matter, especially with how optimistic everything was. And, I think, I don't know if the Heat are really feeling themselves or they think they got away with one. So I think they're puffing their chests out a little bit, but I think if they look deep into their Heat souls, they'll kind of realize it took a kind of a miracle for Duncan Robinson, who had done nothing the whole game, to light on fire. It took Christian Brown being in there as an inexperienced defender, making mistakes. It took KCP fouling guys in 3-point territory. It took a lot of weird things for them to have the advantage they did.
That's a great question, though. Do they feel like they just ran away with one, or do they feel like they're the big bad wolf and they're going to come in here and ruin the Nuggets' chances? That's a great question.
Well, they're going to be buoyed by the home crowd and the good vibes and all that.
I don't think anybody expected them to win Game 1. I've got friends that are Heat fans, and I can tell you that they did not expect them to steal one from the Nuggets at home.
Well, they got one. Good for you. But nothing stops the Nuggets from coming out and blitzing the Heat for, say, 36 points on their own in the first quarter and leading 36-22 or something like that by 14 after 1. Nothing stops that. We've seen it before. And I am so glad we're going to freaking just get to this game. I mean, this waiting around stuff is just, it's crushing. And it just takes so long, Rachel, to get these games going. Yeah. So I'm glad it's here. We've been killing ourselves talking about this thing it's like after the game. So that whole after the game stuff, there's so much that goes on that day after the game, like from from like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. It's like, it's all happening then. And then you wake up and it's the whole next day. And then the day after that. And now the day of the game. So it feels like 4 damn days of talking about the one game and these small decisions. And usually in basketball, Rachel, the game happens and then it's the next game. We're on, okay, whatever. Even in the playoffs, we're moving a lot quicker. This NBA grind is a lot of just sitting around doing nothing.
Agreed. Which is why I'm glad that on Tuesday night when they arrived, or
that's awesome.
On Monday night, that they did a dinner at Jeff Green's house. Jake had told us earlier on Coffee Break that Jeff Green actually has a house down there, and he hosted the entire team for a dinner with a private chef who's featured in the middle, obviously. And he said, distance only makes God-sent friendship stronger. What a blessing it was to be able to reunite with the Green family. Love that. I think that's so cool.
I think that is awesome. And good for Jeff Green.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Jake Shapiro pulled up the stat that this year they're 4-0 after team dinners. I think that's just what I think they were home too long. The whole cycle of these pro athletes is weird, Rachel. Yep. And anything that upsets the apple cart just doesn't feel right. They are not built to be home for 2 straight weeks ever during the season. They never are.
True.
Never are. Even the All-Star break is shorter than, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So way shorter. At a homestand, the most games, Rach, you get on a homestand is 5. And usually they have 2 5-game homestands the whole year. Yeah. And so for a 5-game homestand, say you get home the day before the game and say it's 5 games in 8 days with a game before, okay? Day before. Well, that's only 9 days, and the Nuggets have been home for 2 straight weeks. Like, we all love sleeping in our own beds and seeing our family, but that's just not the rhythm of the NBA. It's not.
And let's be honest, there's so many more distractions when you're at home compared to when you're on the road. You're in the hotel, you're doing the team dinners, you're doing your meetings, etc. It's just a very straightforward path, one road when you're on the road compared to when you're at home. You're going to kids, dance recitals or whatever else it may be. There's a lot of other things that go on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, man, like there's always things when you're just home that you feel somewhat more responsible for, or you just get, so when I was lucky enough to travel for any of covering any sport, right? Like the whole day would just be about that game. Yeah. That's it. And I think about like, I don't know. I went to a movie premiere last night with the fellas,
How was it?
I thought it was great. I really don't know much about, the multiverse and origins of Barry Allen and the Flash and all that sort of stuff. But, it's a big movie. It's big effects and a big movie screen and those comfortable chairs and lots of popcorn.
I know. Yum.
I thought it was great. Again, I don't know much about all this sort of stuff, but, it's not rocket science. You kind of catch up. Oh, that's a bad guy. That's a good guy. Let's see. All right, let's see what happens.
James Marilat said he was going to sit on the aisle just in case it was bad, and he dipped. Was he there towards the end?
I sat right next to Jimmy. You know who dipped? I dipped. And I didn't even do it intentionally. This is going to sound like I'm an idiot. You ready for me to sound like I'm an idiot? I was asked if I would go on. I got a buddy, Mike Meltzer. He does a radio show on Sirius, and they asked me to be on a guest to talk about the Nuggets. Okay. They asked me to be on at 9 p.m. The movie started at 7. I was just like, oh, okay, it'll be close, but that'll be all right. I mean, how long could this movie be?
Is it long?
2 hours and 20-something minutes. And so I'm like, they're like right in this big, huge battle scene. Like, I don't think I'm giving a spoiler to say there's a battle scene in these superhero movies. Shocker.
Oh so my gosh.
There's this big, huge battle scene in some sort of weird multiverse where, there's Batman over there and Supergirl again. I'm not giving anything away. It's in the previews. And then Flash and the other Flash and the bad guys. And it's all happening. I'm like, I got to go out in the parking lot and talk about the Nuggets. So
Good job, D-Mac. You did your job, though.
So that's my bad. But I was thoroughly entertained by it, and I'm sure if I was thoroughly entertained for 2 straight hours, I'm sure I would have been fine with the final 15 minutes or so. Sure. So I'll figure it out. And Jimmy sat right next to me. I sat right next to him. He didn't move. He seemed engaged with it. He wasn't, probably brought a tent because he lives so far north and this was at Highlands Ranch. I don't know, but I don't know. He seemed to be entertained by it. I was entertained by it, and I'm not one of these big superhero comic book sort of guys, and I found it thoroughly enjoyable. So to the degree where earlier today I started going back a little bit and, tell me about Barry Allen as the Flash. What's going on with this guy? So I know a lot more about Barry Allen now.
I think I just learned some interesting stuff on him. I think that was the actor.
The actor apparently is somewhat of a jerk. Maybe
okay, so then yes, I am. Like, has been arrested, like domestic violence. Also,
yeah, well, right? Barry Allen is the character.
Okay.
The Flash. The guy's name is something Miller.
Yeah, sounds like a horror. Not a great
movie.
Movie. I'm shocked he's still getting hired. Besides the point, one thing I do love though, D-Mac?
What?
Jokic is #1 in our hearts and in video views. 316 million video views on NBA social over the last 30 days, the most among any player. And for someone who does not at all have social media and does not, promote his own stuff or anything, this is all organic because people are getting on the hype train of Nikola Jokic.
I've had 2 viral videos this spring. One was asking Sean Payton about Russell Wilson's coach that I think got, I'm not even joking about this, something like 6 million views, which is crazy. The other one was asking Jokic, I don't even know. I think it was about LeBron or I don't even know. Something with Jokic. It was pretty benign. It was not even anything kind of crazy. It has over 2 million views. And it did strike me that, it's weird.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's like weird to take credit for a viral video because you don't put any more work into it than like a million other things that you put out there. Yeah. So I would have to say luck has a lot to do with a viral video more so. The Sean Payton one was more, let's give myself a pat on the back. Because I actually asked the question and I did more things to be responsible for that. But the Jokic one, to your point, I think people are just interested in this guy because he's interesting and he's very entertaining to follow and to learn about, and people want to hear from him. And that, it surprises me and it doesn't surprise me because I have found him in my 30 plus years of doing, this, that he's been the most interesting guy that I've covered.
I am obsessed with his press conferences. I think they are always so funny. I love it. I look forward to it every single time. I've told you guys that so many times, but it's because it's the truth. But I will say on your viral video thing, you should give yourself a pat on the back. There are so many videos out there and so many people record the exact same moment, but it can be the caption that can make somebody click on your video in order to watch it. So give yourself a little bit of credit, my friend.
Good D-Mac.
Good D-Mac. But yeah, the Sean Payton one, that was great because that was
the Sean Payton one. That one was way better because that one was like not only at the end of the press conference, it was on a side session, and it was a topic that hadn't been brought up, and it was sort of the angle and how it was clipped and how I asked the question. Like that one I take way more credit for because I had more to do with it. The Jokic one was really literally nothing. I didn't even ask the question. I just posted something that somebody else had asked, and I just did it quickly. And sometimes that's the trick too. If you can be just the first one to sort of post something that people are going to be interested in, as we do a little social media session here for everybody. But I don't know, Rach. I don't know why some things take off and some things don't, especially when there's just so much that's recorded and said to all these guys. Who knows?
Well, hey, social media sometimes can be a good thing, like it is for Dalton Reisner, who there's a story going out from our from Mike Kliss, a very good friend of ours, who says that there are some teams that have serious interest in him, including 7. No teams were named in it. It's interesting considering how long free agency has been going on, Dean Mack. But is this just a way to recirculate the name, or do we really think there's 7 teams interested and he's waiting for the perfect move?
Well, I am very close with Mike. Obviously, we're good friends. We talk all the time.
I always want to call him our very own because I know how close everybody is with him. Like, Mike is fantastic.
Mike is fantastic. I love Mike, but I have not talked to Mike today, nor have I talked to him about this topic recently. Yeah. I have had conversations with Mike, and I think it's fair to say that Reisner and his agent overpriced his value in the NFL. They did. I think they thought they were going to get big time money. And if you look at the guard market, I mean, it just fell off a cliff. So getting Ben Powers at the number, I think Ben might have been the second highest paid guy in free agency. And you'd have to do some checking for me, but I think it's around 11 or 12 or something like that per year, something along that range. And he did say, Ben Powers said in his press conference last Thursday, the reason he's not with the Ravens was they couldn't afford me. Like, he was that blatant with it. You know, he does not like to talk a lot. You know, I'm not going to say he was a jerk or anything. I don't think that at all. But, you know, doing this media stuff, it ain't his thing. He was polite enough, and he was very to the point honest. So why aren't you with the Ravens? They couldn't afford me. Next question. Dalton was running for the mayor of Broncoland, and, you know, he would go on and on and on and on and on. So I think we may have a little campaign going on right now. You know, I think the mayor may be campaigning just a pinch. I think they overestimated his value in the market. I think he probably could have signed for a deal a while ago, but it probably would have been not the true value that he wanted. It was probably going to be a 1-year prove-it deal. That's a guess on my part. And now I think they're trying to position him because it looks sad right now. I mean, we're almost done with OTAs. The mini camps are next week. Yep.
If you had to guess, just salary price for Dalton, what would you say?
I think he'll go to a team for like 1 for 5. And it'll be a prove-it deal, or it'll be like, I don't know, 2 for 8 with incentives, with like 7 guaranteed, you know, something along those lines. I think it's going to be a low-level deal. This is exactly what happened to Shelby Harris when initially when he thought he was going to get a big deal, and he came back to sign like a 1-year, $2-point-something million deal for the Broncos, had a really good year, and then he got a multi-year contract where he's making bigger money. So it sucks. I think Dalton's an awesome dude. I wish him absolutely positively nothing but the best. This must be very stressful and sort of things. And I know you follow his wife on social media, so you probably know how they're doing better than I do.
They're just chilling. They're doing lots of traveling. And his wife actually just posted like something a few days ago about how she has appreciated the extra time she's gotten, and they felt like they needed this summer. So trying to have a positive spin, much like I am with my ankle that is currently throbbing as we continue to talk, Max. And I'm like, I have to put my ankle up after this show for sure. But to your point about Ben Powers, he is making 12, 11.5, and then 11.9. So great job.
Yeah, and I believe that was the second best guard deal, and Dalton's nowhere close to that right now. So,
Rick, are you surprised by how many Are you surprised by how many big names there still are in free agency?
No, happens all the time. Happens all the time. A lot of careers end when the phone doesn't ring, and not everybody gets a goodbye press conference. Okay, it's sometimes you turn around and you're not a professional athlete anymore. True. You're just not. You know, if nobody wants to pay you, you're not.
It's always crazy because you see, I think the average, it might have gone down, but the last time I saw it was like 2.3 years or something of that nature. Like, you think of how many players, how many superstars have like such long careers, but then how many players have such short careers that like to make that average, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's why like these NBA players, it's so ridiculous. Because there's only like on any team, I think there's 17. I think for the playoffs, they activate maybe 15. And in terms of guys who play, there's like 8. Okay. I mean, there's guys like Vlatko Konchar who had really valuable minutes for the Nuggets, really valuable minutes, hasn't played squadouche, hasn't played at all. Zeke Naji was a guy they had a lot of hopes on. Hasn't played at all. Reggie Jackson's played a pinch. I mean, a pinch.
Like 3 minutes.
Like in one game, he went in meaningful minutes. And I'm not talking about garbage, that sort of time. I'm talking about time that matters. And Reggie got in the game just a little bit. Thomas Bryant, who's he? Right? They traded for him. He hasn't gotten to any games. So listen, man, that's the way it goes. That is the way it goes. And like the Broncos are cutting guys left and right. They just signed a kid who went to Cherry Creek High School, graduated in 2017. And hey, good for him. He's got a shot. Not much of a shot, but he's got a shot. They at least want to take a look at him. But meanwhile, they usher a couple of other guys out the door. Yeah. And, that might be it for them. You never know, Rach. You just never, ever know. True. But, hey, listen, let me tell you this. Once you get to this level, there's somewhere for you to go, depending on how much you really want to play football. USFL, XFL, CFL maybe. I mean, there's pro leagues in Europe and wacky leagues all over the world for football. I mean, if you want to play it, Dwight Howard's playing basketball in China right now. I mean, if it's just about playing the sport, if you're willing to pay for a lesser amount of money and travel to some crazy places, Trevor Bauer, who won the Cy Young a couple of years ago, is having very so-so success in the Japanese league right now. So, you can keep it going. It's just hard to keep it going at the highest level. True.
You see the Jaguars' new stadium that they're renovating?
No. We got some photos.
Oh, do I have some photos for you? I am so jealous down there in Jacksonville. This looks absolutely beautiful. I can't even imagine how much this is going to cost. I'm like, holy smokes. Look at that, D-Mac. An absolute upgrade is needed down there in Jacksonville at TIAA, right? Stadium? I always get those letters.
TIAFF, I believe.
Okay.
I think.
One or another. You know what else I find very interesting is how so many teams and stadiums are incorporating that party deck type thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's no seats, it's just standing room, but you can just hang out, drink, eat, whatever, and watch the game. It's so
there was an interesting article a couple of years ago and said that what you're going to find with new stadiums is lower amounts of seats. Mm-hmm. So instead of like 80,000 seats, you'll see like 60,000 or so seats. But you will have more, I'm going to stand here and be able to walk around viewing points. Listen, I cannot believe when they built Coors Field how good they built it. I mean, it is amazing how good Coors Field is. And one of the really cool traits of Coors Field is you can walk around, on the what would you call it? The Concourse. Thank you. You can walk around the concourse. They've got a yellow line that you can stand behind. Mm-hmm. And if you're willing to just stand there and just hang out, you can watch the game from a lot of different angles at Coors Field, right? And never mind the rooftop and all that. Yeah, I think absolutely you're going to see better areas to just chill out and watch the game, more flexibility to stand around. I think that's better for everybody. And you're going to see higher prices and more exquisite luxury boxes and, corporate sort of settings. And the Broncos are trying to do a little bit of that. They're doing redesigns of their stadium. They are limited because it was not a great design stadium. It was okay. It was just okay. It wasn't great. And one of the reasons it wasn't great is you don't have that walkable area around the stadium where you can actually see the game. You don't have that. Everything in the concourse at, in Power Field closes to like a narrow entrance instead of something that's out and about so you can actually see what's going on. That, and there is just zero right now outfitting for some sort of roof or covering. They did not design it with the best flex. And for what? to keep all those upper deck seats, or those seats in the corner where nobody really goes or doesn't really want to watch the game from anyway. I mean, you really, what the Rockies did with the rooftop area is just absolutely phenomenal. And that was just a waste of, nobody sat in those seats, Rach, except for maybe 2 or 3 times a year. They were the worst seats in the house, and they made it into one of the coolest areas in Colorado, just like that. And you're seeing it with the Broncos. They're trying to redesign things inside of the stadium. The next big move is to make a McGregor Square sort of thing out in the parking lot, which I think they'll eventually do, because they're going to say, well, we can spend $3 billion on a new everything, or we can spend $300 million on McGregor Square, Part 2, and Power Square, right? So I don't know. And I don't think they're cheap. I don't think they're cheap by doing it. But why would they sink all this money into the stadium right now, Rachel, just to tear it down in 8 years? I don't think so.
Is this a blueprint, what the Jaguars are doing? Is this a blueprint for the Broncos, essentially? Because ever since, I don't remember, was it you or Andrew Mason who told me that the video board is as tall as essentially the upper part of Empower Field, so it would make sense that it could all connect and create a roof over the top of it?
That's just, that's me just eyeballing it. That's just me driving past it and saying, wow, that's the same height as everything else, which it looks like it is. And we know that there are designs that could put a covering or some of, roof onto it. And I think that's like, you got to see what the Bills are doing. So the Bills have an entire bowl. It's not covered, but it looks like a soccer stadium in England where like the fans are covered. Yeah. So you would have a very interesting dynamic. And I'm sure it's going to come with a heated field and, a way to get rid of the snow.
How much was it going to cost?
That's going to be a couple billion, but they're getting $850 million from the state. So they're getting they're getting some serious. Oh, I'm sorry. What is it?
1.54 billion.
Wow. Okay. Well, that means half of it is being paid by the taxpayers in the state of New York and the county of, I think it's Lackawanna County in Buffalo, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. But Stan Kroenke didn't get a dime.
Yep. But
you get the money back in other ways. There's other things that happen that you eventually get your money back. But, Rachel, these billionaires, they don't care. They're not doing this necessarily to make money. They're not doing it to lose money. But, it's a shiny toy for them. So, okay, fine.
Is it just a shiny toy for the Broncos owners, or are you saying that for all owners?
I think it's a shiny toy for all of them. Because
you're telling me you think it's a shiny toy for Jerry Jones? That man is way too involved.
Hey, fair point. Fair point. Fair point. So right. The Hunts, the Rooneys, the Crafts at this point, Jones. That's a good point, man. These are family organizations that have been around forever. I guess when I say shiny toy, I mean that none of the owners are like dependent on the football team and its business to be their primary income, like their jobs, that like everything's on the line about the teams. That's what I kind of mean. And the reason is the value of these teams has just increased so dramatically. There's been so much money made. Even if it started out like that, it's certainly not like that now because the wealth is through the roof. Like when Pat Bowlen brought the Broncos, he barely could afford to buy the Broncos. He had to take out loans and borrow money from his friends, family. I mean, it was crazy. That was it, man. Once Pat Bowlen did it, I mean, this is it. This is what I do. Very few of the owners, I can't even name any, are in that situation right now.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any owner. But you're right. I can't think of any. It's all multiple things, which is crazy.
Rachel, do you think the Broncos will build a new stadium?
No, I think they're going to renovate this one.
Do you think the Walton Penner Group will own it forever or get rid of it after a certain time?
I think in my lifetime they will continue to own it, and I can't wait to see you get your tattoo on your forehead of it. I'll be ready for that moment. I will make sure we'll do a in the sports office vlog for that moment when DMAC gets his WPOG right on his forehead. I can't wait.
All right. I'm
10
looking
years from
forward to
now,
that.
we'll get to it. Okay, game predictions for tonight. You are taking the Nuggets to win. Real quick, give me a Jamal Murray stat line.
32 points, 5 of 8 from 3. Let's go, Jamal. Okay. And throw in 5 rebounds.
Okay. Who is the bigger game, Jokic or Jimmy Butler?
Jokic. Jokic will be 27, 14, and 12.
Okay. Score line, go.
Based on 27, 14, 12. Michael Porter Jr. is going to hit 3 3-pointers, at least, maybe 4. I think the Nuggets win relatively easy, 118 to 104.
Okay. Matt, our producer on the back end, my friend, if you want to hop in, I'm curious to hear what you're going with. I am going. Oh. Is it a cheat if I say this is our first overtime game?
No. Hell no. Almost got one last game.
Oh, maybe I'll go overtime. Nuggets win by 2. 120 to 118. I think it's going to be a little bit high scoring.
All right. So Michael, wait. Will they win 120, 118? Is somebody hitting a walk-off? Or did the Heat miss a bucket?
I'm going to go with Jamal. We'll hit a 2-pointer to do the walk.
Jamal gets his revenge, huh?
Jamal will get his revenge. Although I'm not going to lie, you guys. I still have that gut feeling of like, Rachel, are you 100% sure about this prediction? But in my head, that's where we're going.
You know what would be great is if they get the ball with 10 seconds of game time, Malone doesn't call a timeout, and Jamal buries a 3-pointer. It's just like, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. That would be nuts. Just a complete redo of game 2. I think MPJ only has 2 3-pointers though, so we'll be counting that tonight on Twitter. I will have my popcorn. My leg will be up, resting it. That way I can be ready for game 5 back in Denver.
Photos though. No photos.
No photos. Sorry.
No creepy photos.
We got to pay for this. No, totally kidding, everybody. That's going to do it though for coffee break. Or Matt, do you have a thing? Do you have a score prediction?
Yeah, I think it might be a lower scoring game, but I still got the Nuggets. 107, 103, something like that.
Am I going crazy? You guys, I'm like, maybe.
Where's Matt?
I know. Hey, for everyone that doesn't know, we have a new producer, Matt, on the back end. I promise you one day when both DMAC and I are in studio, you'll see his beautiful face. But until then, you just get his lovely voice.
The voice was just coming out of him.
From the heavens.
But also from the heavens. I feel like we have to have one pretty high scoring game in this series. Do you both not agree? Am I just being crazy about this?
Actually, as I think about it, they don't score a lot of points there in Miami. So maybe it'll be, like Nuggets 107, Heat like 98 or something, maybe along those lines. I'm probably crazy to say 118 for the Nuggets. I probably shouldn't even go there.
I think
the
Nuggets...
you know what's great? We get to hash it all out tomorrow. We get to, have another game to talk about, thank God. And it'll be fun to follow the adventures of our own Jake Shapiro, who's down there in Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets might have a difficult time finding a rhythm in Miami, but I also think Aaron Gordon and MPJ will be better on defense.
Oh, gosh, we can only hope, everybody. That's what we need. Oh, Aaron Gordon, my random one, I'm giving him 1 3-pointer tonight. Aaron Gordon's going to hit a 3 because they're going to leave him open. We do see all the score lines. Popcorn tub for Rachel if it goes to OT. Absolutely. I will keep popping it as we go. 117-105 Nuggets. It might go back to Denver, Miami 3-1 edge. I don't hope so, but it might. I know.
All right, come on. Everybody calm down for a second. Holy cow. Damn, bro, you all right? Let's just chill and know that this Nuggets team is there for a reason, and they haven't been playing like themselves. And they had dinner at Jeff Green's house.
Oh, team dinners, 4-0, right? After team dinners.
Team dinners.
Team dinners. Yes, everybody enjoy. I promise I will eat my popcorn. We'll see you tomorrow to break it all down for game 3. Have a wonderful Wednesday, everybody. See you tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Bye.